Hi, and welcome to this session on how to crush your LinkedIn personal branding. With me, I'm Poppy Ferner. Nice to meet you. Thank you to Employability Bridgend for bringing us this session for the Digital Futures Festival. So let's get started. I'm a social media manager, a content creator, and a founder of Fleur Studio. So Fleur Studio is my business. This is my personal LinkedIn page, and I thought we'd do a quick overview on the important parts of this. So as you can see, I make sure that my LinkedIn has my branding colours. So I like creams and pinks, and that's really important to me. That's part of my branding colours. You don't necessarily need that if you're just going to use LinkedIn for job hunting, but it's good to establish colours that you like, colours that you feel represent your personality for you to show on your feed. You can see here as well that I went to Cardiff Uni, so I'm a local girl to Bridgend. Undoubtedly though, your personal branding is more than just the colours you choose and the words you write. Personal branding can be defined as the process of defining and promoting what you stand for as an individual. Your personal brand is a combination of the experiences, skills and values that differentiate you. Someone should see something that you've created or read something you've wrote, and they should immediately be able to identify it as something that you would have wrote. So what is my personal brand made up of? Let's have a look, shall we? A huge part of my brand is my passions and my interests. I love all things to do with girlhood. I love Taylor Swift. I love Barbie, all of these things. I'm a real girly girl. However, it's not always relevant for me to say, Taylor Swift's got a new album coming out in April on my LinkedIn. It's not relevant to what I'm talking about. So how can I get this in as part of my personal branding and stay relevant? Well, I establish where the overlap is. So, for example, I work in marketing, so I can talk about Taylor Swift in the sense of I can say, look at the genius behind her marketing team. Look at how they've marketed her for this album. It's incredible. And it means that people know that I like Taylor Swift because, obviously I do. I'm talking about her. However, I'm not just fangirling over her. It's relevant, and that's always important. I also talk about my experience, and before I had a lot of experience, I talked about the journey I was on. My first job was as a waitress in a pub when I was 14 years old and a pot wash. And that established the start of me being known as the bubbly girl, and that was the start of my professional personal brand building, and I didn't even know. I then went on to train to be a nail technician, and I opened the first ever Fleur Studio, which was based in Cardiff. It was a nail salon. And I used the pinks and the greens that you see in this presentation as my branding then. This being said though, I was 24 and running a business that I had no real business running. I was much too young and much too inexperienced, but I did it anyway because why not? Why not do it? My story is completely unique, but as is yours. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, but I haven't done that. Of course you haven't. You've got your own story. I haven't done what you've done. And that's what's important to remember is your story is part of your personal brand. You're the only one who can tell that. Also, what differentiates me? I've used this picture of Barbie here because I think it was a really good way for you to think about your personal branding. If you haven't seen the movie, that's completely fine. But naturally, there are many types of Barbie. Okay, there's lawyer Barbie, vet Barbie, Supreme Court Barbie, normal Barbie. And all of these Barbies have a very well-established personal brand. They have outfits that are theirs. They have cadences in their voice, the way they talk that is theirs. And they're recognisable from that. So where I'm social media Barbie, you could take some time to figure out what Barbie you are, or Ken. If you want to be a Ken, that's fine. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is terrifying. Or is it? Personally, I believe that LinkedIn is a place to build community, and that immediately is somewhere that's not scary because you're choosing who to surround yourself with. So it's not a scary platform. On a recent post I did about how I had found LinkedIn scary and now I don't, someone called Samantha Brown commented, and here's what the comment said. Couldn't agree more, Poppy. It's all about community on here. Whether you're looking for your next career move, your next lead, connecting with an old code worker, sharing your story, this platform opens the door to so many opportunities and conversations. We can still treat it like social, but the opportunities are endless. Samantha summed this up perfectly. LinkedIn is about community, and it's about showcasing yourself, your worth, your experience, your skill set, your dreams, your hopes, your ambitions, and you share all of these to the ether, and LinkedIn rewards you by connecting with you with like-minded people. I found clients through LinkedIn, I found friends through LinkedIn, and all just because I decided to comment on someone else's post or write my own. Undoubtedly, LinkedIn is full of finance bros and corporate girlies who are ready at a drop of a hat to boast and brag about their huge successes and their prestigious awards that they've received. Have signed up to LinkedIn, gone to write in your experience and your about me and felt overwhelmed, asking yourself, do I fit in here? What am I doing here? I have no experience. What am I doing here? Actually, you are perfectly equipped for this platform, just as much as anybody else. Let's review some quick facts, the LinkedIn files, if you will. LinkedIn is a fast-growing platform with 1 billion users worldwide, and 49 million users are looking for jobs each week using LinkedIn, which is crazy. That's so high. I wouldn't even want to know what people on Indeed are searching. That's wow. 48% of users are active monthly, but only 16% use the platform daily. That's crazy. One of the reasons is because LinkedIn doesn't penalise you if you don't use the platform every day. It doesn't ruin your algorithm, nothing like that. You can not post for 2 weeks, you can post and ghost, and LinkedIn will have you back. It's a good platform in that way. And lastly, only 20% of users are Gen Z. So some of you Gen Alphas, but not very many. So only 20% of users are Gen Z. What does this mean for you? Let's mull that over, because that is a huge statistic to get our heads around. I see this as an insanely exciting opportunity for you. This is an established platform that you could hit the ground running on. You could start your LinkedIn profile and you would excel because you're ahead of the curve, you're ahead of the game. The majority of jobs these days ask for a link to your LinkedIn profile for you to apply. So by having one, you're already setting yourself apart from your peers. And the thing is, you have nothing to lose. It's just LinkedIn. So I have a little task for you. Grab a pen and paper, or more realistically, your notes app, and begin to outline your personal brand. I hear you ask, how on earth do I do that? Well, don't worry, I'm going to break it down for you. Here are the areas that you want to focus on for you to develop. So write these down, and later on this evening, just mind map around them. Just don't take it too seriously, just first thing that comes to your mind. Number 1, write down your key interests that are relevant to your field. So I touched on this earlier with Taylor Swift, but if your key interest is motorbikes, but you want to go into nursing, I'm not sure how relevant motorbikes are for nursing. So maybe having that as your key interest for LinkedIn isn't really appropriate. But maybe you have a real interest in advocating for the health of elderly people, or the health of women or of children. That would be a key interest that's relevant to your field. Number 2, establish what it is that you are knowledgeable about. If you're just fresh out of college or school, you might feel wrongly like there's nothing you're knowledgeable about. I know I certainly felt that way. But there's power in that, and that's the thing that people forget. I quickly realised when I took my first marketing job that my age was a benefit to me. I was the youngest in the team by a long shot, and me having an accurate knowledge about the patterns and behaviours of my peers made a huge difference to my abilities. Where I thought I didn't know anything, my boss would turn around and say, we should run a Facebook ad for this. And I used to be like, what? Why would we do it? Nobody's on Facebook. What are you doing? Let's go on TikTok. And my age was my experience. So try and figure out what your experiences are. 3, what you want to achieve with your personal branding. I mentioned nurses earlier. If you want to be a freelance doula, for example, or you want to work nursing privately, then maybe having a LinkedIn profile for you, which is personal, like with your personal branding, is relevant. But if you're just going to work within the NHS, do you need to do that? Maybe not. Maybe having a LinkedIn is not a valued use of your time. However, if you want to be a freelancer like I am, or work in the digital space, having an online personal brand can be invaluable. And you need to know what you want to achieve from this, how you want to be perceived. So, for example, if you want to be perceived as super professional and corporate, then that's what you need to put ahead. And if you want to achieve getting a corporate role from it, then you need to be speaking the language of that role. But if you're like me and what you want to achieve is like-minded clients and a community, then that's what you need to think about with your personal brand. You get to decide what and how you're represented. Number 4, what tone of voice you'd like to establish. So tone of voice can be really hard to understand if you've not worked in the writing sphere before. A good exercise for you to do is read a couple of passages. So, for example, scroll down your Instagram feed and read the next 10 posts you see. And ask yourself, how did that post make me feel? Because the chances are the tone of voice they used made you feel that way. So was their tone of voice aspirational? Was it comedic? Was it insightful? Did you feel like you took something away from it that you'd learn and it was imparted on you with wisdom? That's a tone of voice. And if you want to be a voice of authority in your industry, then you can do this by changing your tone of voice in your posts. Now, I never recommend using AI. Do not go onto ChatGPT and change your tone of voice on there and then copy and paste that and put it on LinkedIn, because it's going to scream ChatGPT. But it can be really helpful to write something, pop it into ChatGPT and then say, ChatGPT, what tone of voice have I used here? Because you might be surprised at how it's being read. And you can also use it to say, can you change this into the tone of voice of aspirational? And it will give you examples and inspiration. Again, do not copy and paste this. It won't look good. It's just good for a learning exercise, okay? And lastly, number 5, what are your values and beliefs? So again, keep this relevant to your field. It's not really required for you to talk about your religious or political beliefs on social media. I mean, you're more than welcome to. That's completely up to you, but it's definitely not required. So I would say your values and beliefs. For example, for me as a freelancer, I believe that freelancers should be paid fairly for their work and should be respected in the industry. That would be a value and belief that I would hold that would be relevant to my field. Whew, that was a lot of information. Sorry about that. What are we going to do with all this information? We can use this to begin to build your LinkedIn presence. It becomes a lot easier to start posting and contributing to discussions when we have clear outlines on how we want to be represented online. Meaning, once we know how we want people to perceive us, we can proceed with a lot more freedom. On a side note, the tools I love to use to create LinkedIn posts are Notion, Canva, and CapCut. These tools are all completely free to use, which is one of the reasons why I'm representing them today, because I feel that them being free to use makes them more accessible, especially if you're on a job hunt and your budget doesn't stretch to using big fancy professional tools right now. Notion is a planning app, so I use this to plan and write my captions and decide what days I'm going to post them on. I also use it to jot down ideas that I might have, and sometimes I look back on them and I think, oh, that's an awful idea, I'm glad I didn't post that. And other times I look back at it and I'm like, I'm a genius, let's develop this. But either way, Notion can be really, really helpful. Canva is amazing for creating my graphics. I will say the unpaid version is fairly limited, but there is still a lot you can do with it, especially if you're just creating a LinkedIn header. Top tip with Canva to create a LinkedIn header, there is a template for it. So Canva will let you know the size you need, and that is brilliant. Lastly, I don't edit videos for LinkedIn very often, but if I did, I'd use CapCut, which is the software I'm using to edit this today, and it's completely free. So I've given you a wealth of information, but yet I can still hear you crying out to me saying, but Poppy, I have no job experience yet, or I have no experience with any of my field that I want to be in yet. What can I talk about? So let's review some topics. I've given you plenty of ideas here, so jot these down. First up, we're going to talk about your journey, and we're going to combine that with your dreams and ambitions. So your journey might be school, and then maybe college, or maybe not, maybe a job, maybe uni, all of these different things, right? There's so many different journeys you can be on. Or maybe you finish school and you haven't found something you've settled in yet. Again, that's completely fine. That's all part of your journey. And if you feel like your journey as far doesn't represent how you want it to be going forward, this is where you can talk about your dreams and ambitions instead. But the thing is, you have learnt something from your journey. You've learnt resilience, or you've learnt how to cope with trials and tribulations that other people haven't had to deal with. Part of my journey was I sadly lost my mum last year, and it's something I do talk about because it's hugely impacted the way I view work. I don't live to work. I work so I can live and enjoy my life. And losing somebody was all part of that journey. And it's actually something that really resonates with people and makes them think, yeah, do you know what? I've been through something similar. But it's still said within the context of the professional sphere of LinkedIn. I'm still at the beginning of my freelancing journey. And a few weeks ago, I did a post on LinkedIn saying, here's my dream client. If you sound like this client, then you're my dream client. And this is quite obviously saying I don't have this client right now and I'd like them. and it's showing that I don't have much experience, but it really resonated with people, and people reached out to me and said, oh my God, me and you are so like-minded. Those are my dream clients too. In fact, one of the people that reached out to me, she owns a huge PR company based in Bali, and she messaged me saying, you sound just like us. I love this. And it's like that potential for an open door. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm going to get offered a job in Bali anytime soon. However, that open door is all because I just shared something that I dream and hope for in the future. Because I don't have this wealth of experience that other marketers and social media managers have, because I'm at the beginning of my journey. I'm still a junior, despite the fact I'm 26. I'm starting again in a new career, and it means I'm a junior still. Okay, so you know exactly what industry you want to work in. Let's just say you do. So you're sat there and you're like, I want to be a graphic designer. Then you can target that industry so clearly, you can pinpoint it. And the way you do this is by sharing industry knowledge that you found invaluable. So an article you've read, or something that you've come across, or you can repost somebody else's invaluable comment and add your comment to it, add your 2 cents. The other thing you can do is share top tips and tricks to other people in your industry. So where I just showed you the tools that I love, that's a post in itself. If you're a graphic designer and you notice that Adobe has got a new feature, you could talk about this feature and be like, what do other graphic designers think about it? I think it's a bit buggy, but maybe it's going to be developed in the future. What do you think they need to add or change about it? Start conversations, because you can learn so much from your comment section, and you're participating in your industry by doing that. So it's a really, really easy and smart way to participate. It's also then going to connect you with other graphic designers if that's what you want to do, because that's so valuable. Like, for example, you could be connecting with somebody and they know that they're leaving their job, which means there's going to be a space there, and that you could be the perfect person to take that job over. So then they're going to recommend you to their boss as, hey, this person would be great to take my job if you want a recommendation. And this is how community helps you. This is how a platform like LinkedIn can help you, and why having solid personal branding and adding to discussions makes a huge difference. Last section is skills based. So skills you hope to develop and what you're doing to develop them. So for example, if you're trying to learn Spanish, you could talk about the fact that you've got a 567-day streak on Duolingo. Now, why would I bring that up, you ask? Because I have a 567-day streak on Duolingo, and I'm very proud of this. But yes, you can talk about the skills you hope to develop and what you're doing to develop them. Now, of course, you can keep this industry related, but other people don't always. Sometimes people will, let's go back to motorbikes. Somebody will be like, yeah, I did a motorbiking experience this weekend and it was amazing. And it taught me to step away from my screen every now and then and see what life has to offer, because life happens when you live in it, those skills is still building on you as a person. And of course, it's LinkedIn. So celebrate your wins, boast away, because nobody's going to care. Everyone's going to be supporting you, and it's exciting to see. In fact, my most engaged with post ever on LinkedIn is me talking about how I'd hit a goal of mine, and all the comments were congratulating me and telling me that I'd done a great job, and it was so lovely to see. So you've listened to all of that and you're still too scared to post. That's completely fine, right? Comment sections are lit. I don't know if people are still saying lit, but I'm saying lit, so let's, gloss over it, shall we? If you're too scared to post, comment on other people's posts. It's so easy to add a little comment and build your community that way as well. You'll see other people in the comments too, little lurkers we call them. But it can be hard to know who you should be interacting with. So let's have a look. This is a non-exhaustive list of who your LinkedIn besties should be, but people you look up to, other people in your industry, and potential clients if applicable. So maybe commenting on all of Bill Gates' posts, who's the most followed person on LinkedIn, by the way, is not going to get you really what you need to do. He is a very aspirational man. He's very rich. However, maybe that's not who you want to look up to. For me, I look up to the woman in Bali who owns a PR agency, and other freelancers who are further along in their career than me. I also like to share and comment on other people in my industry's posts. I like to, build them up and build my community that way. And for me, it's relevant to also, connect with potential clients, but it might not be relevant for you depending on your field. So let's just look at some key takeaways, because I'm aware I have put a lot of information down your throat, okay? So let's look at these key takeaways for you to take away from this session. LinkedIn is a community-based platform, and you will build a community of like-minded people. It can just take a little bit of time, but not too much time. It's a fast-moving platform. The My 3 top tips are: try to create more than you consume. So this means being in people's comment sections, writing posts, being a part of the scene rather than just observing it. You don't have to post every day. Even once a fortnight is great. Like I said, the LinkedIn algorithm doesn't punish you if you don't post every day. It's better to post things of value than to post constantly of no real value. And lastly, be yourself. LinkedIn is evolving and you don't have to be corporate if it doesn't suit you. Lord knows I am absolutely not a corporate girly. I post whatever I want, whenever I want, and it seems to be suiting me. So take from that what you will. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I've been Poppy Werner and this has been brought to you by Employability Bridgend for the Digital Futures Festival. I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.